So once you have your syllabus in your course, I think the best and most logical thing to focus on is assignments. And assignments really means two things in Canvas. I think a lot of us, when we think of assignments, we think of these things, these assignments that we set up where students can submit work like an essay that they wrote in a Word document or something like that. But in Canvas, assignments also refers to how students earn their grade. So when you come here to assignments in Canvas, it pulls everything that's graded in your Canvas course. So not just those assignment submissions, but also Canvas quizzes, graded discussions, like a grade for attendance. It'll all appear here. You can think of it like we all have something to the effect of this in our syllabus that tells students how they're going to earn their grade in the course. And then in Canvas, this represents that. It pulls together everything in the course that contributes to how students earn their grade, and that's what we're going to learn how to set up in this video. And so if you're preparing for a pivot, starting with this initial structure, it's kind of like the bones of your course. I'll recommend and show you how in the next video to start using these right away with your students, even if you're not actually having students submit their work in Canvas. But getting these in here is a great way to prepare for that possibility. Even if you don't start using it right away, you can keep all of this unpublished so students won't see it if you prefer, and you have it ready to go if the need arises. And that will work really well for a short-term interruption like inclement weather. You can look at your assignments and say, well, we were supposed to do this next week, but you know what, let's do this, because it works really well as an online assignment. And when we're back in the classroom next week, we'll circle back to this. But for everyone to be as prepared as possible, I think it's a great idea to at least choose a few things to do online as a routine part of your course. And then the transition to remote learning will be smooth. If you're in there with your students already working and grading and communicating and all that. Okay, so let's look at the nuts and bolts of this. Let's go back in time and see how I set this up. So to start in assignments, what I need to do is first add those 4 assignment groups. And Canvas already gives us one default group called assignments. And this is what you'll use if you're using this model. But if you want to add your assignment groups, like this one, you can start by just changing this first assignments group to the first group, which is quizzes. So I'm going to edit this, and I'm just going to make it quizzes, because I don't actually have a group called assignments, if you recall. My next group is called exams, and this is where my midterm and final are going to be. My next group is called projects. And I have one more group, which is the presentation. Okay, so these are the 4 groups that represent everything I have in my syllabus. And then you can see within the first group, quizzes, I'm going to have 4 quizzes, and these are just going to be Canvas quizzes, and this is worth 20% of the final grade. My exams are worth 20%, my projects are worth 30%, and my presentation is worth 30%. So before I start adding anything, I'm going to go ahead and set my assignment groups weights. So I'm going to check this checkbox, weight final grade based on assignment groups, and I'm just going to add those percentages here. And thankfully, Canvas does do the math for you down at the bottom, so you can make sure you are adding up to 100. And then I'm going to click Save. So I have my 4 assignment groups set up, so the next thing I'm going to do is start adding my individual quizzes and assignments. So my first assignment group is quizzes, and I have 4 unit quizzes in there, and those are all going to be Canvas quizzes. So I'm going to click plus, and from the drop down, instead of assignment, I'm going to select quiz, and I'm going to give it a name and a due date. And I'm not going to bother with points for my Canvas quizzes because, quizzes, the points depends on how many questions you have times how many points each of those questions is worth. So there's just no point adding the points in here, but I will do that when I set up my assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my quizzes. And now I'm going to go ahead and add 2 quizzes in my exams, because if you recall, I have a midterm and a final, and those are also going to be set up as Canvas quizzes. And then for my projects and my presentation, these are going to be Canvas assignments. So I'm going to hit plus, and I'm going to leave that as an assignment. And then I'm going to add my assignment name and give it a due date. And for the assignment, I can go ahead and give it the number of points it's going to be worth. Okay, so now I have what I like to call the bones of my course, the how students earn their grade. And as I mentioned, these are all just shells of assignments. So if I click in here to this flavor assignment, there's no instructions. I know it's worth 100 points and I know the due date. Those were the details I was able to fill in on the assignments page. But I'm definitely going to want to go ahead and give the details for all of these assignments and quizzes and all that before I publish any of these things for my students. And why don't we go ahead and walk through adding those details, and we can explore the assignment settings. So I'm going to start by clicking edit, and you'll see that the first thing that pops up is this text box, and this is where you'll put your assignment instructions. So if you normally hand students a piece of paper that explains the assignment, or if you verbally tell them in class, this is where you can include all of that information about assignment instructions and how they complete it. And so I've got that there, and now let's look at these other settings. So the first one is points. We already set up that it's worth 100 points on the assignments page. We already put it in the projects group, but if you're creating a new assignment, or if you decide this actually belongs in a different group or something like that, you can always change it here or even create a new group if needed. And then this is a really important one for if you're moving online. So this setting here tells Canvas how students are going to submit their work for this assignment. And right now it's set to no submission. So you can change it to online. But let's say that this is something that students complete in class, they don't submit anything, but you still grade it. You can leave this as no submission, and then Canvas knows not to expect students to hand anything in electronically for this assignment, so it doesn't give them that option. And let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. So I'm going to click Save and Publish because I want to use this Student View button at the top of my assignment. This is a super feature in Canvas that allows you to experience your course from the student perspective. But because it is from the student perspective, I have to publish the content before I want to see it in Student View. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And you'll see as a student in the course, I get the assignment instructions, I see the due date, I see the points, but there's no option for me to do anything. I can read this information, and when I go to grades, I will see it as one of my assignments that I'm going to complete. It's my only published assignment right now, so it's the only thing I see. But let's go ahead and go back there. So there's no way for me to turn anything in on this assignment because you as the instructor have told Canvas this is a no submission assignment. But let's say, as I mentioned, you want to start using Canvas with your students now. You can change that to an online submission type. And if you do leave it as no submission, you can still use SpeedGrader. So you can still grade your students on this assignment in Canvas, even if you're not accepting submissions in Canvas. And that's one way to use Canvas before the need arises. Another way is to accept the actual submissions via Canvas for this assignment or for a number of assignments, or all of your assignments. You can give students that experience now before the need arises for everyone to suddenly be doing remote learning. So let's say that I want students to upload a file to this assignment. so that I can receive these student submissions in Canvas. Under submission type, I'm going to select online, and then it gives me these online entry options. And basically this is you telling Canvas how you want students to submit that work. So if you want a file upload, you would select that. So let's say, like I said, students are doing their work in Word and I want them to upload that file to Canvas so then I can then view it from right here in this assignment. I'm going to choose file uploads. I can also choose any of these other options. Text entry is another one that can work well. And what that does is it just gives students a text box just like this to complete their work. But let's stick with file uploads for this one, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Before I do, I just want to show you this assign box. And what this does is this allows you to give due dates as well as availability dates. So right now we have this set as being due on February 18th. All this box right here does, this due date box, is communicate a due date to students. It tells students that it's due on February 18th. It doesn't prevent students from submitting their assignments after February 18th. So if you want to prevent students from being able to submit after this date, you need to add that date here as well in the available until box. And if you want to prevent students from doing submitting before a certain date, you can add this available from box here. And you can also give individual assignment deadlines to different students if you need to. So let's say one student is out with COVID and you want to give them an extension on this assignment, you can simply click add here and start typing the student's name. There's no students in this course, so no names came up. But if that student was enrolled in this course, their name would come up. You can give them an individual due date without affecting everyone else. And as soon as you add a student here to assign to, this will change from everyone to everyone else automatically. You don't have to do anything. And so that's probably something really important for you all to know this semester as we're dealing with things like COVID. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click save so I can show you what it looks like from the student perspective now that this is a file upload. So I'm going to go ahead and click student view again. And you'll see now, instead of just having this text and all this, it tells me that I'm submitting a file upload and I can go ahead and start that assignment. And when I click this button, I get the opportunity to upload my assignment. So I'll just go ahead and submit my syllabus for this assignment so you can see what it looks like. So students get some confetti when they submit their assignments on time. And then what happens is, you can start using it. Canvas has told you that there's a submission waiting to be graded, and you can do that in SpeedGrader, and I will explain in more detail how to do that in my next video. Now let's go ahead and set up the details for one of my quizzes. So I'm going to click the name of the quiz and then I'm going to click edit, and you'll see I get the same kind of scenario as when I was setting up my assignment. I have this big text box where I can put any relevant instructions. And then below I have all my settings. So these are all kind of self-explanatory. You can kind of, decide which, if any of these options you want to set. You have that same assign to box here where you can give individual students, a different set of dates. What I really want to show you here in quizzes is this questions tab. So once you fill out your details, you're going to come over here to questions to start adding your quiz questions. And right now this quiz is worth 0 points. And that's because we haven't added any questions. So let's see what happens when I click new question. It gives me this little box here which determines how many points this question is worth. So for the sake of simplicity and time, I'm going to give this quiz one 100-point question because, as you know, this quiz is worth 100 points. So we always, if we say this to students, that each quiz is worth 100 points, we need to make that math happen here in the question points box. So if I had 2 questions, I'd make them worth 50 points each, so on and so forth. So let's say this is a multiple choice question, and here's my question. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the correct answer here. And I'm going to put some distractors here. I'm going to make them kind of believable. And then I'm going to click Update Question. And now my quiz is worth 100 points. I'm going to click Save and Publish. And now Canvas can grade this quiz for me. I don't have to come in and grade this quiz. The only way I would have to come in and grade this quiz is if you gave, like, for example, essay questions. Canvas will grade all your multiple choice questions, but then you'd have to come in and grade those, essay questions that the computer is not capable of grading for you. But we can use Student View here also. I'm going to go ahead and take the quiz, and I just highly recommend doing this for at least one of your quizzes, if not all, one of your assignments, one of your discussions, all those things, so you can experience your course from the student perspective and what your students are going through. That will help you really write relevant instructions, be able to answer questions if students have them, and identify any issues. This is kind of like testing. This is testing your course to make sure it works how you expect it to. So you might come in here as test student and find, I don't see this quiz, and then you'll realize you never published this quiz. So of course students are contacting you and saying they can't find the quiz on Canvas. So let's go ahead and take this quiz as test student. And we know that the correct answer to this question is 7. And then I'm going to submit my quiz. And it tells me that I got 100. And now that's it for quizzes. But before I conclude this video, I did want to show you one more thing, which is how to add a graded discussion. Because let's say, for example, you're running your course, everything's going smoothly, you're meeting in the classroom, you're accepting all this work online, but then it gets towards the end of the semester and we're moving online. Suddenly we need to all engage in remote learning because of an interruption like a pandemic or something like that, and you no longer can do this presentation the way you initially decided to, which was to have this kind of no submission assignment in Canvas, and students would be presenting in the classroom in front of each other. So what I would do in this scenario is I would come in here and unpublish this assignment, and instead of doing it as an assignment, so like I could just change that to an online submission in that assignment, right? But this is a presentation. This is something that students would be doing in front of each other in the classroom, and so you want them all to have access to each other's presentations, and you decide, you want your students to do those presentations as a video or a PowerPoint or something like that. What you can do is set this up as a graded discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and click that Add button, and from my drop down, I'm going to choose Discussion. I'm going to give it a name, and I'm just going to make it Presentations. I'm going to give it that same due date. And I'm going to make it worth 100 points, just as it was before, and then I'll click Save. And now when we come in here, here's where we can do what we always do. We're going to click Edit, and we're going to put all those assignment instructions here. So all of that original stuff that you probably already told students was coming, that they'd have to do their presentation on this thing, and this is what was expected, and this is how long it has to be, and all that. And then also some additional instructions about how they'll use this discussion board to add their presentations using a video or PowerPoint or whatever it was you decided. So you can see it's a graded discussion here. All of these are set. I set it as 100 points in the presentation, assignment group, all of that, but you just want to come in here and add your instructions. And I'm just gonna put my my lorem ipsum in there just for the sake of time, and then I'm gonna save and publish, and now you can come back in and do that same thing with Student View, practice replying to this discussion, attaching your PowerPoint or adding, adding your video with Studio, whatever it is you decide you want to do for this presentation. And remember, we have instructional technology consultants across the university in every school and here in ITS Learning Technology. So we're here to help you with all of these things. But this is just so you know how to set up those bones of your course. And and you know how to go through it as a test student. And I'm just going to give you a quick pep talk that this was the hardest part. So if you worked with me, you paused the video, you went through and set this up, you got the hardest part done. I'm going to create a few more videos to help you keep learning how to make this work in Canvas and how to plan for that possible transition to remote learning. But this was the hardest part. So good job. And if you stick with me, you'll be well on your way to making that smooth transition to remote learning. As usual, feel free to reach out to EdTech with any questions or concerns, or if you want to talk about how you might set something up. We are always happy to help.